The Galactic Council chamber hummed with its usual bureaucratic monotony. 372 species, all gathered in their designated atmospheric pods, waiting for the humans to answer what should have been the simplest question in the universe. We ask again. High Arbiter Velsha clicked through her translator, her 17 eye stalks twitching with barely concealed irritation. What do your people do for entertainment? The human ambassador, a lanky female named Morgan Reed, smiled in that peculiar way humans did when they knew something nobody else did. That slight upward curve of the lips that made every species in the chamber instinctively check their security protocols. Well, Morgan began, tapping her datapad with one finger. That's actually a fascinating question. See, human entertainment comes in many forms. We have what we call sports, games, competitions, performances. Yes, Velsha interrupted, her patience wearing thinner than a solar sail in a neutron storm. We understand recreational activities. Every species has them. The Corthians juggle radioactive materials. The Plexians sing songs that last 3 generations. What makes human entertainment so special that you require a full council session to discuss it? Morgan's smile widened. Oh no, that was definitely the smile. I'm glad you asked, she said, her tone dripping with barely restrained amusement. I've prepared a presentation. Just some video documentation of a typical human entertainment event. Nothing too extreme, mind you. Just your average weekend activity. Council member Throck, a massive being composed entirely of sentient gas, pulsed skeptically. Average, you claim? The last time your species described something as average, we spent 6 months investigating whether your children's playground equipment violated 47 different warfare conventions. That was a misunderstanding, Morgan replied smoothly. The monkey bars were clearly labeled as recreational. They were suspended 40 feet above concrete. Builds character. Velsha slammed her primary appendage against the resonance pad, creating a sound like a gong being hit with a sledgehammer. Enough. Show us this entertainment of yours so we can file the appropriate paperwork and move on with our lives. Morgan pressed a button. The chamber's central hollow projector flickered to life. What happened next would later be described in official reports as the incident that made Velsha's eye stalks permanently straighten in horror. The video showed a massive arena, packed with screaming humans. Thousands of them, all standing, all shouting, all focused on a central area where... What are they doing? Whispered Council Member Drex, a typically stoic being who had survived 3 extinction-level events without flinching. They're running, Morgan explained cheerfully. With a ball. That's a ball, see? The inflated leather object. Running with a ball, Velsha repeated slowly. This is the entertainment. Oh no, that's just the beginning. See, the objective is to get the ball to the opposite end of the field while the other team tries to stop you. Stop them how exactly? On screen, a human built like a small cargo vessel slammed into another human with enough force to register on nearby seismic monitors. The crowd erupted. The sound was deafening even through the recording. They're attacking each other. Drex gasped, his crystalline core structure flickering in distress. This is gladiatorial combat. This is warfare. No. Morgan laughed, waving her hand dismissively. This is football. American football, specifically. It's completely different from warfare. In warfare, you don't have referees. Referees. Velsha's translator struggled to convey the sheer disbelief in her voice. You're telling me this organized violence has officials? Well, yes. Someone has to enforce the rules. Otherwise, it would be chaos. Otherwise, Throck pulsed so violently he nearly dispersed. You mean this controlled collision of flesh and bone you call sport exists to prevent chaos? What in the name of the ancients would happen without rules? Morgan shrugged. Probably someone would get hurt. The chamber fell silent except for the continued sounds from the video. Another collision. Another eruption of cheering. Another human celebration that involved chest bumping with enough force to crack ribs. Pause the recording, Velsha commanded weakly. Please, just pause it. Morgan obliged, freezing the frame on a particularly enthusiastic tackle. Let me make certain I understand correctly, Velsha continued, her voice taking on the tone of someone trying very hard to maintain professional composure. Humans voluntarily participate in this activity. For fun. They pay currency to watch others engage in ritualized combat. And you consider this normal? Absolutely, Morgan confirmed. This is actually one of our gentler sports. Would you like to see hockey, rugby, or maybe extreme mountain climbing? Oh, I have excellent footage of free solo climbing. That's where you scale a vertical cliff face without ropes or safety equipment. Stop, roared 13 council members simultaneously. Velshaw's eye stalks had begun trembling. Not the usual diplomatic tremor of controlled disagreement, but the full-body shudder of a being confronting something fundamentally incomprehensible. Ambassador Reed, she began, her voice carrying the careful patience of someone explaining basic physics to a particularly dense asteroid. Perhaps we were unclear. We asked about entertainment, leisure activities, relaxation, not whatever suicidal tendency your species mistakes for recreation. Morgan leaned back in her chair, that infuriating smile still plastered across her face. Oh, but this is relaxation for us. After a hard week of work, nothing beats watching a good game with friends. Maybe having some snacks. Council member Drex interrupted, his crystalline form now pulsing with a sickly yellow hue. You consume nutrition while observing simulated combat. Well, yeah, beer, hot dogs, nachos really enhances the experience. Your digestive system functions normally while witnessing potential mortality. Why wouldn't it? Throck pulsed forward, his gaseous form coalescing into something approximating concern. Ambassador, I feel compelled to inform you that 63 species in this chamber have already flagged your presentation for review by the Warfare Conventions Committee. For more have requested immediate psychological counseling. And the Plexians are attempting to file a motion declaring humanity a collective hazard to rational thought. Morgan's eyebrows rose. Because of football? Wait until you see what we do with motorcycles. No, the chamber erupted in unified panic. Ambassador Reed, Velshaw said, fighting to maintain control. Before this session devolves further into madness, please explain something. These humans in your video, the ones deliberately colliding at high velocity, they survive this, correct? Most of the time, yes. Most of the time. Well, injuries happen. Broken bones, concussions, torn ligaments. That's why we have medical teams on standby. And really good insurance policies. Velshaw made a sound her translator refused to interpret, probably for the sake of diplomatic relations. Let me approach this differently, she tried again. On my homeworld, entertainment consists of bioluminescent pattern displays and harmonic resonance chambers. 0 injury rate, 0 risk, maximum relaxation. Why would any rational species choose violence over peace? Morgan considered this, her expression turning thoughtful. Because peace is boring? The silence that followed was so profound that the chamber's environmental systems seemed to stop humming out of sheer respect for the moment. Boring, Velshaw repeated flatly. The absence of physical trauma is boring. Look, it's not about the violence itself, Morgan explained, warming to her topic. It's about the challenge, the skill, the strategy. Football requires incredible athleticism, split-second decision-making, teamwork, coordination. Players train for years to master their craft. It's beautiful, really, when you understand what you're watching. Beautiful, Drex echoed weakly. She called organized collision beautiful. I need to recalibrate my translation matrix. It must be malfunctioning. It's not malfunctioning, Morgan insisted. Here, let me show you another clip. This one showcases the strategic complexity. Please don't, Velshaw begged. But Morgan had already resumed the video. The footage showed a quarterback, surrounded by massive defenders, scanning the field with eyes that processed information faster than most species' combat computers. He threw the ball in a perfect spiral, threading it between 3 defenders to a receiver sprinting at full speed who caught it without breaking stride and dove across the goal line. See, Morgan said triumphantly. That throw required calculating velocity, trajectory, wind resistance, defensive positioning, all in under 3 seconds while being chased by 300-pound athletes who want to put you in the dirt. That's not violence. That's art. Art that ends with someone in the dirt, Throck muttered. Exactly. Now you're getting it. Velshaw slumped in her atmospheric pod, her eye stalks drooping with defeat. No, I really don't think we are. Ambassador Reed, I'm beginning to suspect that humans and the rest of the galaxy operate under fundamentally different definitions of basic concepts like safety, sanity, and self-preservation. That's fair, Morgan conceded. But you asked what we do for entertainment. This is it. Well, this is one thing. We also have combat sports where people punch each other in a cage until someone gives up or loses consciousness. What? And racing sports where we drive vehicles at 200 miles per hour inches apart from each other. Stop. Oh, and extreme sports like base jumping, where you throw yourself off buildings and mountains with a parachute and hope it opens in time. Why would the parachute not open? Drex shrieked, his usual stoicism completely abandoned. Equipment failure, user error, bad weather. Happens sometimes. That's what makes it exciting. Velshaw pressed all 17 eye stalks against her console in what could only be described as existential despair. Counselors, she announced to the chamber, I move that we table this discussion indefinitely and never speak of it again. Seconded, shouted approximately 300 voices. Wait, Morgan said, holding up her hand. You haven't even seen the really good stuff yet. I brought footage of our annual motorcycle race. It's held on an island with regular roads, stone walls on both sides, average speeds over 130 miles per hour. The emergency medical teams had been called. 17 council members required immediate sedation. Throck had dispersed so violently that technicians were still trying to collect all his component molecules from the ventilation system. And Velshaw, poor Velshaw, had gone completely rigid, all 17 eye stalks pointing in different directions like a biological warning sign. Morgan paused the video, which currently showed a human on a motorcycle leaning so far into a turn that his knee was scraping the pavement at 140 miles per hour, mere inches from a solid stone wall. Perhaps, she said slowly, finally reading the room, this wasn't the best example to start with. Velshaw's voice cracked through the translator at a frequency that shattered 2 observation windows. You mean there are worse examples of human recreational suicide? Well, I wouldn't call it suicide. More like calculated risk for the purpose of achievement and glory. Council member Brix, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. The ancient being resembled a floating brain in a containment sphere, and his species was renowned across the galaxy for their logical analysis and emotional control. Ambassador Reed, I have observed humanity for 3 decades. I have studied your wars, your politics, your technology. I thought I understood your species. But this presents a paradox I cannot resolve. What paradox? Morgan asked, genuinely curious. You are simultaneously brilliant and suicidal. You create art that moves souls to tears, then voluntarily throw yourselves off cliffs for amusement. You compose symphonies of heartbreaking beauty, then climb mountains that kill 1 in 10 climbers. You solve mathematical problems that take centuries to crack, then drive vehicles at speeds that turn minor errors into instant fatality. How do you exist? How has natural selection not eliminated you? Morgan grinned. That terrifying human grin that made insurance companies across the galaxy tremble. Because we're good at it. Good at what, exactly? Brix pressed. Not dying. See, that's the thing everyone else seems to miss. We don't do these things to die. We do them because we've gotten really, really good at not dying while doing incredibly dangerous things. Every safety measure in extreme sports, every rule in contact sports, every piece of protective equipment, it's all designed by humans who love the activity and want to keep doing it. We've optimized danger. The chamber fell silent as this sank in. You've optimized danger, Velshaw repeated slowly. You took lethal activities and made them survivable through sheer stubborn refinement. Then you made them entertainment. Now you're getting it. This is worse. Somehow this explanation makes it worse. Drex, partially recovered, flickered back to a stable form. Let me ensure I comprehend this correctly. Humans possess the intelligence to recognize danger, the creativity to minimize it, and the wisdom to make it survivable. Then, having accomplished all this, you deliberately expose yourselves to it anyway for entertainment purposes. Yes, Morgan beamed like a teacher whose student finally understood calculus. Why not just avoid the danger entirely? Morgan's smile faded, replaced by something more serious. More human. Because that's not living. That's just existing. The Corthians juggle radioactive materials, you said? They do it because it's challenging, because mastering it means something. The Plexians sing multi-generational songs because creating something that transcends individual lifespan gives purpose. We play dangerous sports, climb deadly mountains, race lethal machines because conquering fear, pushing limits, achieving what seems impossible, that's what makes us feel alive. It's not about the danger. It's about the triumph over it. The chamber remained quiet, but the quality of silence had changed. Less panic, more contemplation. Brix pulsed thoughtfully in his sphere. I believe I begin to understand. For humans, the presence of risk makes the achievement meaningful. Without stakes, victory is hollow. Exactly, Morgan said. You can't be brave if you're never afraid. You can't be strong if you're never challenged. You can't know your limits if you never test them. But testing them involves potential death, Velshaw pointed out, though her tone had lost some of its earlier hysteria. Potential, yes. Probable, no. That's the difference. We're not reckless. Well, most of us aren't. We train, we prepare, we study, we practice. Professional football players spend years learning proper tackling technique to minimize injury. Mountain climbers study weather patterns, use safety equipment, climb in teams. Race car drivers wear fire suits and helmets, have roll cages and emergency crews. We respect the danger. We just refuse to let it stop us. Throck, mostly reconstituted now, pulsed weakly. This is insane. But I think I'm starting to see why humans have thrived. You actively seek challenges that would make most species retreat. You treat obstacles as invitations. Pretty much, Morgan agreed. So, back to the original question. What do humans call entertainment? We call it testing ourselves, proving ourselves, becoming better than we were yesterday, even if yesterday we were already pretty damn good. Velshaw straightened her eye stalks one by one, a visible effort at composure. Counselors, I move that we classify human entertainment not as warfare, but as, and I propose we create a new category for this, aggressive self-improvement through voluntary risk exposure. All in favor. The vote was unanimous. However, Velshaw continued, I also move that we append a warning to humanity's cultural database. Something along the lines of, approach human recreational activities with extreme caution, professional supervision recommended, liability waivers mandatory, nearest medical facility should be notified in advance. That seems fair, Morgan conceded. 3 hours later, after the official votes had been recorded and the medical teams had finished their rounds, something unexpected happened. Council member Brix floated closer to Morgan's station, his containment sphere humming softly. Ambassador Reed, I have an unusual request. Morgan looked up from her datapad, eyebrows raised. After today, I'm almost afraid to hear it. The motorcycle footage. The one where the human leans into the turn at high velocity. Could you play it again? Velshaw's eye stalks perked up from 3 stations away. Brix, are you feeling unwell? Do you require additional medical attention? No, Arbiter. I simply wish to observe the sequence again. For analytical purposes. Morgan smiled, but this time it was different. Softer. Understanding. She pressed play. The motorcycle screamed through the turn, the rider's knee millimeters from disaster, threading between stone walls with precision that defied probability. The crowd in the footage roared their approval as he emerged from the corner, accelerating hard toward the next challenge. Brix watched in silence. Then, quietly, he said, "Show me another." Morgan did. Then another. And another. Within 20 minutes, a small crowd had gathered around Morgan's station. Drex, still flickering uncertainly. Throck, maintaining a cautious distance but definitely paying attention. Even Velshaw had drifted closer, though she would later deny this in official reports. This one, Morgan explained, pulling up new footage, is from what we call the Winter Games. Humans sliding down an ice track on a tiny sled at 90 miles per hour, navigating turns that pull 4 times normal gravity. Madness, Velshaw whispered, but her eye stalks were locked on the screen. This one is ski jumping. Humans fly through the air for over 200 meters after launching themselves off a ramp. Insanity, Drex muttered, but he leaned closer. And this, Morgan said, pulling up her final clip, is what we call the World Cup, the most watched sporting event on Earth. 4 billion humans tune in to watch their national teams compete in soccer, which we also call football, just to confuse everyone. The footage showed a massive stadium packed with screaming fans, their voices creating a wall of sound that transcended the recording. On the field, athletes moved with balletic grace, passing a ball with mathematical precision, executing strategies that would make military commanders weep with envy. 4 billion, Brix repeated softly. Nearly half your entire species watches this. Every 4 years, yes. Nations that are enemies politically unite in competition. Cities stop. Businesses close. For a few weeks, the whole planet focuses on this shared experience, celebrating skill, strategy, human achievement at its peak. But why? Velsha asked, and for the first time, her tone held genuine curiosity instead of horror. With all the danger, all the risk, why do so many participate? Why do even more watch? Morgan considered the question, her expression thoughtful. Because it reminds us what we're capable of. Every time an athlete does something that seems impossible, it expands what we believe humans can achieve. Every record broken tells us we haven't reached our limits yet. Every game won against overwhelming odds proves that determination and skill can triumph over adversity. We watch because it inspires us. We participate because it transforms us. And the danger? Frock asked. The injuries, the risks you mentioned, are the price of greatness, Morgan replied simply. Nothing worthwhile comes without cost. We've just decided that pushing boundaries, achieving excellence, and inspiring billions is worth the risk. Not everyone agrees. Many humans prefer safer entertainment. Books, music, theater. But those of us who love sports, who compete or watch, we understand something fundamental about human nature. What's that? Brix asked. We're not meant to be safe. We're meant to be spectacular. The chamber fell silent again, but this time it wasn't shock or horror. It was something closer to understanding. Velsha slowly rotated toward the council assembly, her voice carrying across the chamber. Counselors, I wish to amend my earlier motion. Human entertainment should not be classified as warfare or aggressive self-improvement. It should be classified as, and I believe this is the appropriate term, aspirational achievement display. Seconded. Brix said immediately. The vote passed with only minor opposition. However, Velsha continued, turning back to Morgan. I maintain that warning labels are still necessary. Your species remains objectively terrifying. That's fair, Morgan laughed. Though if you think this is terrifying, wait until I tell you about our space program. We literally strapped ourselves to controlled explosions and shot ourselves at the moon just to see if we could. We know, Velsha sighed. All 17 eye stalks drooping with exhausted acceptance. We've read the reports. Multiple times. Usually while consuming sedatives. Ambassador Reed, this session is adjourned. Please, for the sake of my sanity and the galactic medical supply budget, no more presentations about human recreational activities for at least 6 months. Deal? Morgan agreed, gathering her materials. But just so you know, in 6 months we're hosting the Olympic Games. 2 weeks of the best human athletes competing in over 30 different sports. I'll send you the highlight reel. Velsha made a sound like a dying star collapsing into a black hole. As Morgan left the chamber, she could hear voices behind her. Quiet at first, then growing bolder. Brix, do you think she'd share more of those motorcycle videos? I wonder if humans would allow observers at these events. The ski jumping looked almost elegant when you think about it. Morgan smiled to herself. Give it time, she thought. Give it time. Humans had spent millennia perfecting the art of turning danger into entertainment, fear into triumph, and the impossible into Tuesday afternoon. If other species wanted to understand that, wanted to appreciate what drove humans to strap on helmets and chase glory at 200 miles per hour, well, humanity was always happy to share. After all, the galaxy could use a little more spectacular, and maybe, just maybe, a little less safe. So what did you think? Did this story surprise you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this sci-fi story, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more mind-blowing science fiction stories every week. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.